now for our message. This computer talks too much. Welcome along, because Ros has come all the way from New Zealand and we look forward to a special message. And if anyone knows about this, Ros does. She's been there, done it, and she's going to share her wisdom with us today. Ros, welcome along.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going to adjust this computer and put it up there so I can stand up and make sure. Okay, so can you hear and see me okay? All right. Dream the impossible dream. It's all you're getting. There's more, you know the song, this goes, there's more, but my voice doesn't do it justice. But dream the impossible dream. Why would you do that? Why would you go with the impossible? Well, I'm basing this on the fact that it was reported that Jesus said in Matthew that he said, for man, it's not possible, but with God, all things are possible. And yet we know, Paul Hasselbeck talks about this, the great metaphysician, you know, Paul Hasselbeck. He talks about that we have this, it's like a psychic barrier. He talks about the adjacent possible. And anything that's beyond that, our mind kicks it out. Our mind, it goes, no, it's not possible. And so we close down, we go, I can't see how that could happen. Or, you know, I don't believe that can happen. So what I'm asking you to do is to open a corner of your mind. Mary Morrissey talked about that. When she was diagnosed with nephritis when she was about 18, 19 years old. So her kidneys were failing. And this was in the late 1960s. So there was no such thing as dialysis. She was given a death sentence. And she was in hospital. Her right kidney was going to be removed. And they gave her just a few months before her left kidney would fail and would have to be taken out. And the night before the surgery, a New Thought minister or a prayer chaplain came in and sat by her bed and said, would she like prayer? And she said, yeah. But she said it was nothing like a prayer she had ever heard before, because this woman asked her what had been going on in her life in the last couple of years. And Mary talked about giving birth. While she was still at school, getting pregnant, giving birth to this baby, and the shame that she felt. She felt like she'd let down the school, she'd let down her parents, she'd let down herself, because it looked like her life was pretty much over. And this shame would just consumed her. And this New Thought person said, you know, Mary, everything's created twice. The thoughts that you've had, the shame that you've felt has all accumulated. It's got to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just disappear into nothingness. Is all accumulated in your kidneys. She then posed a question to Mary. She said, could you believe that all that toxin, all that poison in your body now goes in all into that right kidney? When they remove it in the morning, they go, wow, the left kidney is looking fine. We thought it was going to be so damaged, but it's now looking fine. And Mary said, at that moment, she couldn't believe it. She said she felt so ill, she was in such pain that she couldn't believe it in that possibility. She said she was giving more focus on the minor deities in her life, you know, the MDs, the doctors, the minor deities, than she was on the major deity, God. She wasn't focusing on God at all. She was focusing on this pain and what she was going through. But she said, and here's the important thing, she said at that moment, a corner of her mind opened to the possibility that she could get well. Just a corner of her mind. That's all it took. Does that remind you of something else that Jesus talked about? Faith the size of a mustard seed? So what I invite you to do is allow yourself to go past that adjacent possible. Go into that realm of what looks impossible, the impossible dream. And play in that realm. You know, we're given in this, what is it? The Holy Bible, the Bible. When I was at University of Greater Portland, a minister would hold this up and she'd say, "What is this?" And we got trained, we were good students, trained to say, "This is our story, the divine book of life. It's our story." And it's not just our story collectively, is it? It's our story individually, yours and mine. It's our story of our evolution, evolving as a spiritual being. And you know, evolution, any of you who've studied Barbara Marx Hubbard's material, she talks about it's a spiral, right? There's not a straight line, you know, boom, I'm going direct to heaven. No, it's a spiral. We go, and the spiral goes up, but then it loops back round again, doesn't it? Have you had those moments when you go, haven't I been here before? Don't I know this? Haven't I seen this before or felt this before? Well, that's right. But it's never at the lowest point as before. It's at a higher level. Hopefully, the spiral keeps spiraling up. Is it possible to spiral downwards? Yeah, it is. That's why it's so important that we keep engaged in this kind of thinking, in this kind of work. Anyway, back to this. I'm going to introduce you. I want you to meet Ruth. Now, Ruth comes about a third of the way through the Old Testament. Have you ever noticed how long, how big, how fat the Old Testament is? There's a lot to it, isn't there? This is all our evolutionary growth until we get to the New Testament, where presumably we're enlightened. Anyway, some of us are still wandering around in this realm way back here somewhere. Probably not you, but I can relate to some of this. Now, Ruth lived in Moab. Now, Moab is the land of materiality. When we think about it metaphysically. So it's the place, you know, all the characters, all the people in the Bible and all the places, all parts of our own consciousness, right? We know this. So Moab is that place in our consciousness when we're going, oh, I don't know if we can pay all our bills this month. Where am I going to, you know, how am I going to make a living? Oh, I only get this amount of money and it doesn't go far enough, right? This is the land of materiality, Moab. So Ruth's born there. And then she gets married. This woman, Naomi, and her sons come from Israel, come from Bethlehem, and start living in Moab. And Ruth gets married to one of Naomi's sons. And then the years go by. They're still living in this land of materiality. Now, Naomi's husband and Ruth's husband both die. So we've got these two widows. Now, being a widow metaphysically means you're out of a consciousness of God as your resource. You're living in a low place. You're living from a place of going, I don't know how we're going to survive. I don't know what we're going to do. And the expectation was that Naomi would go back to her homeland and that Ruth would stay in Moab and probably be married off to one of her husband's brothers. That was the norm in those days. Well, Ruth says to Naomi, I don't want to do that. Let me come with you. And Naomi goes, no way, no, you've got to stay here where it's safe, where you'll be looked after. Actually, why don't I get Ruth to tell what this is like for her? Just a moment, I can see that she's coming and she'll just join you in a moment. I've got this longing, this feeling that I want to go and experience a different life. If I stay here, I will just have to live as I've lived before. But there's something in me, there's an urge in me that says, there's something more for me, more. It's like I want to grow, I want to experience a fuller life. And I don't feel I can do it from this place, in this place. That Naomi part of me is saying, you've got to stay here. You'll be safe here. But I don't want safe. I want to experience my fullness, my power. I want to move on. I want to be in that consciousness of that I am a fully divine human being. I don't feel I can do it here. Please don't make me give up my dream. And so Ruth and Naomi, they go together. And Ruth, because she's got this drive in her, she's got this fire in her that she can live a new life. And when she gets to Naomi's homeland, she becomes a gleaner. And you know what a gleaner is? After the harvest, there's some of the grain is still left and someone can gather it up and they can take it to the merchants and get some money for it. And so that's what Ruth is doing. And with the money that she gets, she's able to provide a good living for her mother-in-law, for Naomi. You can see, so these characters, again, they're all part of the one person. There's a part of us that is longing to experience more, to express more, to go into that place of the impossible. And the rest of the story is that Ruth gets noticed by Boaz. Now, Boaz represents this benevolence of the universe, this benevolence, principle that we call God. And he sees what Ruth is doing, he admires what she's doing. And he ends up marrying her, but before that point, and I find this really fascinating when I was thinking about it, she has to take a risk. And it's actually the Naomi part of her, which gives her the idea. It says, go and lie at his feet. Can you imagine that? This young woman is being encouraged to go and lie at the feet of this very rich man. Now, I don't know, some people say if in the Bible, if you're doing stuff at the feet that has a kind of sexual connotation, I don't know whether that's true or not. Anyway, Boaz wakes up and sees this woman curled up at his feet. And he thinks, well, I better provide for her in some ways. And he tries to marry her off to someone else. That doesn't work. So he marries her. And they have a baby. And that baby becomes in fact, Ruth becomes the ancestress of the house of David. Out of the house of David, what do we get? Jesus. So see, that's all part of our evolutionary journey, right? We have this urge to express more. We have this urge to move from where we are beyond materiality into a realm that looks impossible. Right? But if you can dream it and believe it, you can achieve it. Now, when we're dabbling in, how are we going for time? Someone better let me know, because I can't see my clock. 5? You know, when we're delving in this realm of the impossible, we sometimes get, doubt comes in. Because if you think about that thing, if you can believe it. So what do you do if you're having some doubt? Well, Tosha Silver, whose work I really love, she wrote a book called Outrageous Openness. And she talks about having a God box. Well, I thought, yeah, God box, that's a good idea, but I've got a God can. And what you do with the God can, any of those times when you think, I don't know how I can do this, you can open up the lid and pop it in, right? Because you can't, but God can. Right? Remember Jesus' words? With man, this is not possible. But with God, or for woman, he'd be saying to us now, for woman, this is not possible. Oh, maybe he missed that out on deliberately. Interesting. Anyway, you get the point. For man, for woman, this is not possible, but with God, all things are possible. So dream the impossible dream. That's it. The silent.
Wow, thank you, Ros. That was just amazing. And I'm sure that there's food for thought for the rest of the day for us there. And you've inspired us all as we look around ourselves and see what we can aim for as we move forward into the next couple of years. That was absolutely wonderful. I didn't know that you could do acting, Ros. Are you were you involved in that at one stage? Acting?
My mother was a trained actress, so something must have rubbed off.
Well, I think we've created a trend here. We hope to see more of those Bible personalities come to life as the year goes on. Would you